and Happy New Year. Well, this morning, the person who will be speaking to you is me, yours truly, Ebele, and I work for Dragon HCD Consulting. We do human capital development, and that includes sales and marketing. What are the professional behaviors? What certifications can you get? We do HR management. What certifications can you get through us? And for me, I'm an organizational transformation practitioner. That means I can work with you to change your culture, your thinking. I can also work with your organizations. And that's on behalf of my company, Dragon HCD Consulting. You can see our logo on your screen as you go through these slides with me. This talk to you about professionalism and behavior. Most people will call it workplace etiquette. Let's look at how people think or behave. A lot of times you find that I'm a professional. That's professionalism at work. And so you find this person who is well dressed in a suit like the ones in my picture, but the behavior behind that claim to be a professional is what is a bother. Where is that thin line that you can draw between claimed and true professionalism? So this person is well dressed, like I said in the picture, nice suit, nice tie, clothes in the right place, shoes very silent, and then he walks up to you and he cannot even greet you, or he dumps his papers on you, or he's screaming at you. That's not true professionalism. That's just getting the job done without the behavior. In the workplace, all of us know the old adage, IQ gets you on the job, but EQ keeps you there. But does management really care about the behavior? In the past, what you got was give us the results. It doesn't matter how you do it, we just want the results on time. So it was a question of get the job done, get the results done, no behavior behind it. So you found people always shouting, always, feeling frustrated. And so people began to think differently. So what do we see today? We see most organizations that are beginning to think about the right behavior to back up the right job. So we begin to graduate from calling sir to calling people boss to changing from the idea of boss. Instead of hearing the word subordinate, we begin to hear things like my report, my associate, my colleague, even when the person is down the line. And so there's a paradigm shift from being the hardcore unprofessional behavior to a different kind of behavior that begins to see people as humans and we can work with them better. Unprofessional behavior, like in the last question I'm asking here, can be very detrimental to businesses. It can damage the reputation of an organization if the employees do not have the right kind of behavior. So when we call you a professional, it means that you are a total person. How do we behave in the workplace? I'm going to show you a video as we talk about professional
In the
behavior.
office, we greet each other countless times every day. That's why we've developed a wide variety of greetings depending on the relationship. Nodding is used between people who know each other but not too well. If meeting multiple co-workers in quick succession, try and vary your greeting method. Over-nodding can lead to injury. Eyebrow raising is another common technique, particularly useful for re-greeting colleagues throughout the day. If you have a good relationship with a co-worker, you may employ the goofy greeting. If you are meeting someone for the first time...
Celia, I'd like you to meet Lauren. She's overseeing our entire Asian expansion.
The goofy greeting is never acceptable.
Did you like that? So even when she's meeting a new colleague, she's busy trying to do the goofy greeting. making the eyes and the shoulders. So you need to vary how you behave. There is the part of music. How ethical is it? Most of us will see music as fun. Some people say it helps them to focus. So they get to work and they put on the earpiece. Like in this picture, the lady is wearing a very big one, overhead charger. That's what I call it. And so she's putting it on and she's covering both ears, which in the first place is not good because you need to open one ear for your colleagues to hear you. But sometimes you hear somebody saying that music is motivating for them and it gives them vision and direction. Is that the case with you? You should think, how would your colleagues react to your covering your two ears listening to music? Now let's take the funny part. There is a part where you hear a very interesting or familiar song to you and you begin to sing. I feel good. How would that impact on your colleagues when they suddenly have to be distracted to look at you? No matter how good music is, we must be careful how we use it, especially if you operate in an open office. The earplugs too can be detrimental to your ear and to your hearing system. According to Dr. Agrawal and WHO and even the Mayo clinics, earplugs can be very detrimental. It will bring about dizziness, hearing loss. Sometimes you have ear infection. Sometimes you discover you can't hear well or there's noise in your ears. It keeps ringing. They call it tinnitus. There's also the one they call hypercacosis because it's highly sensitive. In every environment you are just sensitive to every sound, and that is coming from overuse of earplugs. You should use earplugs as recommended by Dr. Grawal. Use them only a maximum of 1 hour in a day so that your eardrums do not develop problems. You must also think about safety when you wear your earplugs to play music while at work. Even for you on the road, as you are walking around the office, because your ears are blocked and you're listening to music, is a total distraction. You may not notice another person coming. You may not hear when somebody says, "Oh, there's danger," and you walk into it. So you must think safety first for your health, next for your environment when you play music while at work. It's actually not ethical. If, on the other hand, your company plays music, because in some organizations they play music, please ensure to challenge status quo. They need to keep it low and it should be soft music. You can't go ahead playing fun music while at work. It's quite distracting. I'll take us to another level. That's about music. When you speak, and I will still connect that to music, to use of earpiece rather. Because you often wear earpiece, there's a tendency for you to speak loud. I mentioned some of the illnesses that come from using earpiece most of the time. So you find that by influence of your earpiece, you have ringing noise, you have a tendency to scream when you talk because you think people are not listening to you or your voice is not loud enough. So you have to speak above your music. How do others conceive you when you have to speak loud? This morning I was on a bus with my colleagues and somebody was making a phone call and everything he said we all heard. He was transacting a small business, but we heard everything. How did we see him? Somebody said, "Oh, why are you trying to show off?" But for me, it was really a bad attitude because I was trying to read and I couldn't read with as much concentration as I needed to. So he was a distraction to say the least. And so I'll be asking myself, how did he feel? How do you feel in the office when you have to speak loud? Please try to keep your voice down and be peaceful about it. Also, try to achieve a reasonable pitch. Keep it there. Let's look at another side of bad behavior in the workplace. It's about communication. Whether you're doing business or you're being professional, every communication is social and it can be perceived as professional or otherwise. You need to reach the right medium per audience, and that depends on your diction, your choice of words, your tone, and your attitude. I'll show you something before I come back here. On communication, when you do personal communication, please note that according to Dr. Albert Mahrabian, he says that 7% of your communication is the spoken words. So whether you tell the person a long story or you make a few words, it's just 7%. How are you perceived is in your voice and tone, which is what I was trying to say earlier. 38% of your pitch and your tone. That is how you sound when you say what you say. That you can even say good morning to somebody and he feels offended because of your voice pitch or because of your tone. There's a difference with good morning and good morning. So you see, that's a whopping 38% how you sound. But let's look at you. The other total of you to make up the 100% is 55% of your attitude. How you gesticulate, which is what I've shown when I say attitude and behavior. What are your hands doing? What is your face saying? What is your body saying when you say the things you say? So, in totality, 100% of you, your words are just 7%. The rest of it is what you do when you say what you say, how you sound when you say it. Therefore, your attitude can be interruptions, they can be distractions, they can be negative, or you may choose to be positive. And that impacts on meetings, how you sound when you are in meetings, when you have to shout at people, or when you barge in on other people's conversation. Even when it is a group discussion, you're talking football and you take over the discussion because you want to be heard more than others. Some people, when they are on one discussion, it's about, I must finish last. Even when you are chatting, you must finish last so that you are heard better. So we need to deal with these things. I just talked about this. Remember that it's not so much what you say, but how you say it and what you do when you say what you say. Well done. We're still talking about interruptions and distractions. From start, I said that even your earpiece, because of the way you now speak, can become a distraction. When we enter other people's workspace, how do we behave? Do we just barge in on them? Do we knock? If it's our boss, we need to understand his behavior and show him respect. You must knock. No matter whose table you go to, you must ask if he has a minute or two to talk to you and get his consent so that you are not seen as a distraction. Hello, you impact on work delivery when you interrupt people. So you become a big part of the problem instead of the solution. Don't be a headache. Now, when you are picking calls during meetings or when someone else picks calls during meetings, how do you feel? How do you look at the person? But I have a story to tell you here, a case study that happened in my presence. So we had our management staff talk to us some years ago. We were in a very serious strategic meeting that morning. And then this director's phone, he was a second director, his phone flashed light. It didn't make noise because we had a rule, keep your phones on silent. So he obeyed the first rule. But next thing we heard was, I'm sorry, this is my wife, I must take this call. And he walked out of that meeting, took the call for about 5 minutes and came back. Surprisingly, the project owner thanked him. He said to him, Mr. Vincent, thank you very much because your wife is your boss, your first boss, he said. And he said, it can be an emergency in the family, and if there is, you're going to be distracted, you won't do my job well. So anytime your family calls you, you must take the call. So what that taught me, and in fact we had some discussions, but it taught me to know that it's very important to respect your family's wish, but don't overdo it. And if you have to pick that call, you must excuse yourself at the right time. Another crime is leaving your phone to continuously ring out loud. Everybody will hear that your phone ring. I don't know if it's pride, but you need to deal with that. Your phone should always be on silent so that you can pick it, silence rather. Or you take calls. Some people walk along the road, they are there, along the corridors. If it's a big office, on the aisles of the office, and you're talking loud, you are taking your call as you're going. Always find a convenient place to take your call so you don't disturb or distract others. Next, let's look at the issue of punctuality. Most people feel that a few minutes lateness to work, it doesn't really matter, I'm only just 2 minutes late. But it does affect your self-concept. People will see you as a latecomer. What's unethical? Some people will go late even to personal businesses. And I'll give you an example again. I have a cousin, female, who does business from office to office. There's this guy in a company who gives her real big business, good money. But she will collect the money, she will give an appointment, and she will go late. On this day, the man had invited her. She called me to meet her there to pick up something. I personally waited more than 1 hour. So you can imagine how long the man had waited for her, from 10 o'clock till 12 when I got there, and by 1 she was not there. And when the man started complaining, he said some unprintable things about her that tears came to my eyes. You and I know by now that she cannot get business in that company. So you need to handle yourself well. So lateness to work and meetings is equally bad. Even when you respond to mails and voice notes late, perhaps the incident has been overtaken by others, but you have just shown some disrespect for that person or some disrespect for yourself. It affects your self-concept and is equally distracting. This means also that you are not respecting your workplace relationships. If you respect others, they will respect you. If you are friendly, people will see you as kin. Don't forget that most of the time we spend most of our time in the workplace. If you resume work at 8, you may not close before 4. By the time you get home it's 7, 8, especially in places like Lagos or other states that have a lot of traffic. So you are spending less time with your family than your colleagues, who should actually become your kin. So friendliness is very important. You don't need to make enemies in the workplace. Try to be kind to all. They say that a smile melts every heart, even ice. Can you please keep a smile on your face? In fact, that is the beginning of professionalism. That friendliness, that kindness, that supportiveness, and the fact that you trust your colleagues. When you give your staff something to do and you have to micromanage him, you are standing behind his back all the time. You do not trust him. When your colleagues ask to do something and you don't trust them, you're saying that you also cannot be trusted. Please watch it. Politeness enriches your relationships. Learn to say thank you when people do things for you. Learn to say please when you ask for support or when you ask others to do something. Learn to greet people when they don't done a good job. Thumbs up, great job. And please, even if you are the most senior manager, it's important to learn to apologize. We are all weak and vulnerable. So where necessary, do something about your attitude. And that attitude includes how clean we can be. Right from the beginning, when we talked about music and distractions at meetings, you are already working towards cleanliness. Because if you create an environment where people can approach you and talk to you because of your smile, because of your attitude, you're already creating a morally clean environment. What about the emotionally clean environment where you don't need to shout at your colleagues? When you shout at them, you are saying to them you are animals. So emotionally, you intimidate them or you make them feel bad about you. Let's look at the physical environment. What about you dropping things, littering it? If you set example of cleanliness, you even pick up things as you walk around. Others will learn from you. Please let not emulate bad behaviors. An environmentally clean workplace, even your decks, can bring about emotional balance, and in fact everything psychological will work well for you if you support others by making sure you clean. Supporting others is also very important, as I just mentioned, because it would help them to value the workplace. There is no better workplace. The best job you have in this world is the one you have at hand, and it's you who would make it the best job. The organization would have rules and regulations. Are you obeying them? Are you working within the limits? And that begins with understanding some of the policies of the organizations in terms of behavior, language, the kind of discussions. You are not in a position to begin to say bad things about your company, whether to your junior colleagues or to outsiders. How you handle your work also is part of treating your company well and creating an environmentally clean place. Your colleagues, mind your language. You should be sensitive to how people react to your choice of words. If you say it once, you look good today, and the person feels bad about it, please don't use it next time. Because the question is it only today I look good? Why don't you keep it, oh, you look good, and stop there with a smile, please? Otherwise, keep your compliment to yourself and just wear the smile. Thank you. Now let's look at a small film to cap what we have just been talking about. And there are 4 basic things that you should look at as a summation of all the discussions.
If your office feels like a sitcom, could be a case of life imitating art. Etiquette expert Thomas Farley is clocking in with the basics of office etiquette.
Since we are working in such close confines and spending so much time, probably more time with our coworkers than we are with our own family members, to think about how your little actions may have ripple effects on the way somebody else is able to work.
And it starts at the top, especially with a brutish boss like Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada.
So sorry, Miranda. I actually did confirm last
Tales
night.
of your incompetence do not interest me.
You want to lead by example, not lead by the bad example that the higher-ups are setting for you. But the key really is that common consideration.
Next, if courtesy isn't so common in your office, just be happy you're not with Dwight Schrute in his office.
Do you mind?
So having those conversations about personal hygiene, about personal workplace habits, those I think are best had by people who are actually friendly with one another in the workplace.
I'm sorry, Pam. Allow me to write you an apology letter.
So Dwight can be courteous, but what if you work with someone like Michael Scott?
What do you want to say, Michael?
But when it comes to noise levels in offices, I think you have to realize this is a working office and not a library.
Finally, what happens when work friends fight?
You are not going to solve a misunderstanding with an email. The best way to solve that, pick up the phone. It's the most underused tool in the office, and it will help you cut through so much nonsense.
Boy, have you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it.
Lesson learned? From the office to your office, mind your manners. That's on the to-do list.
Did you see that? That was just to show you that everything we have said about workplace behavior is very important. From talking down at your colleagues, to using the bad words, to pushing things around and creating an environmentally unsafe place, to the psychological intimidation, to the noise you can create. Please watch it. In this class, we have just given you a taste of what it can be and only talked about part of it. Your policy can address certain other things. In another class, we'll talk more about workplace etiquette or professional behavior when we come up with appearance and dress code, how we resolve conflicts in the workplace, do we respect diversity, how envy, jealousy, and targeting can affect work, how we push blames to others can also affect work. But part of the worst part is harassment. Do you have a policy on that in your company? We'll show you how it borders on workplace professionalism. To enjoy more on professionalism in the workplace, please join us at our next session. You may wish to use the link we give to you to do that, or call any of our consultants for details. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. We look forward to working with you.